A Japanese salaryman gets yanked out of his ordinary life and summoned to a magical kingdom as their legendary hero candidate, only to get publicly humiliated when his stats come back as a perfectly average adult male. Somewhere deep in the wilderness, a red-haired man named Banaza stands frozen as rumors of demon army sightings echo around him. He's just opened up his new starter pack from the kingdom that exiled him. 100,000 gold coins, a full house, 20 sets of clothes, 8 weapons, and farming tools. For a second, he almost relaxes. Food, shelter, supplies. He'll survive out here just fine. Then he pulls out the sword they gave him, and the mood immediately curdles. This blade looks way too fancy to actually swing at anything, let alone an entire demon army. Out on the open road, Banaza looks back across 20 days of carriage travel through completely empty wilderness. Not a single town, not a single person, just endless nothing. He pulls out the one apology gift the kingdom tossed him on the way out. A single magic bag, a treasure-holding item he has absolutely no idea how to open. He assumes it's empty anyway, because of course it is. But after a little fiddling, he realizes the usage isn't so different from the ones in his original world. Quiet relief washes over him. Small wins are still wins when you've been exiled to nowhere. The caravan finally reaches the edge of the forest of Delavaza, and Banaza turns to thank the lizardman driver, who hauled him all the way out here. The driver, who is technically under contract not to speak to his cargo, breaks the rule one last time with a warning. Rumor has it the demon army was spotted around this very area. You best be careful. Banaza smiles and waves goodbye like they're old friends, even though they barely exchanged words the whole trip. Then the carriage rolls away, and just like that, he's completely alone in a forest full of monsters. A memory suddenly surfaces. A bustling marketplace in Cry Road, where Banaza first watched humans openly sneer at the demon folk traders working nearby. Subhumans, they called them. Banaza stood there stunned, wondering if there was any world out there without this kind of discrimination. A human woman beside him, reading a newspaper, coolly explained that almost nobody in the kingdom thinks that way. People just don't want others profiting more than them. Banaza looked down at his own hand and quietly said he didn't think it was strange at all to make friends across species. That single sentence is about to change everything. A massive demon folk leader suddenly rallies his entire crew with a roar. Everyone, we are going to follow Banaza! The other demon folk cheer wildly, some of them literally in tears. The human woman beside Banaza, named Quinn, just smiles and tells him he saved her back there. Banaza grins back and says she's the one who always saves him. But as the celebration swells, the human merchants in the background mutter darkly, calling the whole scene a bunch of hypocrites stirring up trouble. Something just shifted in this marketplace, and not everyone's happy about it. Rewind a few minutes. Banaza had simply offered to pay the demon folk leader fairly for his work, and the big guy tried to refuse, insisting it would leave a bad taste. Banaza just smiled sweetly and asked if he was waiting to trade with him instead. Quinn chimed in from the side, warning the leader that once Banaza decides to do something, he absolutely will not stop until it's done. The demon folk leader finally caves with a groan, and then turns around to shout at all his bastards to line up and accept their pay. A quiet, stubborn kindness just cracked open a wall of pride. Banaza didn't even raise his voice. But the human merchants watching from across the market are absolutely fuming. He's giving money to a subhuman in public. They complain he should have at least done it in an alley so no one would see. Now these subhumans might start expecting to be paid like real people, and that's apparently a nightmare scenario. The demon folk leader pulls Banaza aside, uncomfortable, telling him he really doesn't have to pay them. He's part of the demon folk after all. Banaza's reply is simple and devastating. So, what about it? That one line hits harder than any sword could. Inside the carriage later, Banaza gets to know the lizardman driver a little better, and the guy cheerfully admits the pay for this job really is terrible. But they're not slaves, and that's what matters. The driver asks if Banaza also came from some distant country, noticing how odd his reactions are. Banaza laughs sheepishly and explains that in the world he came from, there were no subhuman species at all, let alone ones bound by slave contracts. The lizardman nods thoughtfully, processing that. Banaza slumps against the wall of the carriage, the weight of it finally hitting him. He really has come to a completely different world. Flashback further. Banaza stands before the king of Cry Road as an official scroll is read aloud, formally acknowledging that his failed return was a grave mistake, and offering the kingdom's sincerest apology. Translation: sorry, you're stuck here. Good luck. He was thrown out of the castle shortly after, given special permission to live in the forest of Delavaza up north as his consolation prize. Banaza mutters that he understands he's disqualified as a hero and can't stay in the castle, but it's still incredibly frustrating. They could have at least explained things a little better. The royal apology was basically a polite eviction notice with extra steps. Even further back, Banaza is standing in the castle hallway asking, with rising panic, why is he still in this world? Nobody ever told him how to get back home. A maid gently explains that summoning a hero candidate is extraordinarily difficult magic, and returning someone is even harder. If the summoning gate were still open, he could have walked right back through it. But of course, by the time anyone bothered telling him any of this, the gate had already slammed shut, the door home closed before he even knew it existed. Rewinding further, Banaza is wandering the castle halls trying desperately to get someone's attention, eventually cornering a dogkin maid who's busy sweeping. She finally acknowledges him with a cheerful, "Yes, how can I help you?" Banaza asks if she remembers him. He was summoned as a hero candidate too, after all. The maid's eyes go wide with recognition and shock. "Oh, you!" It's the kind of reaction you give when you see someone who was supposed to have been quietly swept under the rug, because, well, he was. Rewinding even further, we see the moment everything went wrong. The king triumphantly declared a blonde-haired knight to be the real hero, and the entire throne room erupted in cheers and celebration. Banaza was completely forgotten in the chaos, pushed aside while servants shoved drinks into everyone's hands and shouted about the banquet. He stood there awkwardly clutching a glass, watching the party rage around him. By nightfall, he was alone under the moon, murmuring that he just wanted to go home. The hero of the hour was someone else. He was just a guy holding a drink. The blonde knight had stepped up to the crystal ball and lit it up like a Christmas tree, every single stat reading 999. "Really?" he purred with a smug little smile. "It seems I've been chosen as the hero to save the world." The crowd went absolutely wild, grabbing at him, begging him to save them. Banaza tried to protest. "Wait!" But nobody was listening anymore. The kingdom had found their savior, and the savior was loving every second of it. One man's catastrophe became another man's coronation in the span of about 10 seconds. Because moments earlier, Banaza's own crystal ball reading had been a total disaster. Power 9, Defense 8, Agility 6, Magic 1, HP 10, Skills Arithmetic and Business. The exact stats of an average adult male. The dogkin maid stammered that this case was impossible. A great failure. Banaza just kept repeating that he'd told them, he's just a merchant. The summoners immediately started arguing about sending him back to his world, only to realize the teleport gate had already closed. And in that exact moment, a second arrival stepped forward. Someone actually capable of being a legendary hero. Further back still, the dogkin maid had proudly led Banaza toward the ability-measuring crystal ball, certain his hidden power was about to be revealed. "Eh?" Banaza mumbled as the readings appeared, numbers that made his shoulders drop. He remarked, almost casually, that he could read the language of this world just fine, so at least something was working. But the maid was already horrified, whispering the awful truth. "You do not have the revelation of God, the blessing every summoned hero was supposed to receive. He had nothing." Earlier that same moment, the maid had been explaining the whole system, how people brought to this world from another are gifted a blessing from God, a divine spark that grants them skills no native could ever possess. That blessing is the entire reason for the summoning ritual. It's what makes hero candidates into actual heroes. She guided Banaza toward the crystal ball with total confidence, gesturing for him to step forward. "This way." Everything in her voice said, "You're about to become something incredible." She had no idea she was about to watch a miracle fail in real time. Before that, she'd walked him through the view of Cry Road itself, a breathtaking city of floating crystal towers, suspended gardens, and glittering spires stretching to the horizon. A literal different world. She explained how the kingdom had nearly collapsed under the long war against the demon army, pushed to the brink of total despair. That desperation led them to start summoning heroes from other dimensions, warriors capable of defeating the demons and turning the tide. It's the kind of backstory that sounds epic on paper. For Banaza, it just sounded like bad luck wearing a crown. Rewinding to the very start of the tour, the maid had first guided him toward the crystal ballroom, promising to show him the way to discover his hidden abilities. Banaza, ever the realist, kept protesting that there must be some mistake. He was called a hero candidate, but he's literally just a merchant. The maid insisted that latent power might be sleeping inside him without him knowing. Then she gestured grandly around, inviting him to take in the sights of their magical country of Cry Road. Because after all, she said with a bright smile, their country exists in a completely different world. Banaza's stomach probably dropped through the floor. Moments before that, Banaza had been stumbling around the summoning chamber in full panic mode, demanding to know where he was and what this place could possibly be. He'd literally just been at work, at the loading area, doing his job, and now he was surrounded by hooded summoners and glowing magic circles. The dogkin maid was already trying to hurry him along, explaining that the next hero candidate would be summoned shortly, and they really needed to keep things moving. "What is my job?" he kept shouting, completely overwhelmed. Nobody answered. The conveyor belt of destiny does not pause for questions. And it all began with a single blinding flash. The 198th hero candidate, successfully summoned. The dogkin maid welcomed Banaza to the magic country of Cryroad with practiced cheer, already gesturing toward the grand doors waiting at the end of the chamber. Hero candidate Banaza, welcome. He stood there dazed, arms half raised, completely unaware that in just a few minutes, he'd be publicly humiliated, forgotten, and eventually exiled to a forest on the other side of the world. He didn't know any of it yet. All he knew was that the maid was smiling, the doors were opening, and someone was politely asking him to please come this way. The moment Banaza is dropped off in the forest of Delavasa, a system window flashes in his face. You leveled up, level 2, and every single stat marked with a strange symbol he can't even read. Power, defense, agility, magic, HP, skill, all of them displaying the same mysterious mark. He assumes his ability to read the local language is still too weak to translate it properly. Passive skills quietly activate in the background as he stands there, completely unaware that the failure the kingdom threw away just became something the crystal ball could never have measured. The real game just started. Banaza pulls out the fancy sword and magic bag the kingdom gave him, and his new system suddenly lights up with a massive warning. Concealed magic detected, location tracking, forced teleport, and a demonic incentive spell that literally attracts nearby demons to wherever the bag is. The weapons? Garbage, useless, rigged to betray him. The truth hits him like a freight train. The apology gift from the royal family was never an apology, it was a leash. They wanted him to be found, dragged, and devoured by the demon army far away from anywhere that mattered. This wasn't exile, it was an execution dressed up in ribbons. And right on cue, the contamination kicks in. Banaza suddenly doubles over, sweat pouring down his face, and a grim realization settles in. I think I'm going to die soon. The forest is flooded with dark element magic particles, the kind demons leave in their wake, and his body can't handle it. But just as panic starts to set in, his system window flickers again with an unexpected option. Do you want to remove it? Yes or no? He taps yes without hesitation, and the magic the kingdom secretly planted on him is forcibly cancelled on the spot. He stares at the now harmless bag in his hand, slowly piecing together just how thorough their betrayal really was. Before he can catch his breath, another warning blares across the screen. The forest itself is saturated in severe dark magic, the kind only demons produce. This isn't just a rough neighborhood. It's a demon army base in all but name. Banaza mutters that it's useless to keep dwelling on it, and decides he needs to find somewhere safe to live, fast. But the system keeps pinging. There's still more? He groans, as more threats and detections stack up on his display. The kingdom dumped him into the absolute worst spot on the map. They really wanted him gone. Meanwhile, far away in Cryroad Castle, the royal family is having wine and cake like nothing happened. The king is lounging on his throne, drink in hand, looking perfectly pleased with himself. Then his daughter, the first princess, storms in, furious. Father, even if he was ineligible, that was too cruel. The king blinks at her in mild annoyance, not even understanding what she's upset about. To him, Banaza was a clerical error. To her, the rejected hero candidate is a person her father just quietly condemned to die. The room goes cold. The princess spells it out. A hero candidate who couldn't return to his own world because of their mistake was dumped in the forest of Delavasa, a place literally rumored to be the demon army's new base of operations. Her father just shrugs and mutters that it can't be helped, that the kingdom can't afford to fight the demon army right now, and that Banaza isn't even a real hero. So what does it matter? An advisor tries to gently back him up, but the princess is horrified. They didn't just abandon Banaza, they used him as bait. Then an elderly sage bursts into the throne room with news that completely flips the mood. Traces of purification magic, the sacred top-ranking magic, have just been detected, evoked somewhere in the kingdom. The king laughs in delight, assuming the blonde hero he appointed has already begun his glorious suppression campaign against the demons. Truly a once-in-a-century talent, he crows, raising his goblet. What a hero, what a bloodline, what a coincidence. Except the sage's face twists with unease, because something about the timing is very, very wrong. A quick lesson on what purification magic actually is. It's the highest-ranking sacred magic in existence, capable of wiping out dark magic particles that poison human bodies. It can even destroy demon bodies from the inside out. Normally, it takes an entire country's worth of wizards gathered together to evoke even once. It's not a spell, it's a weapon of mass destruction in religious robes. It's the kind of magic reserved for the final battle against a demon lord, and someone just casually fired it off in the middle of nowhere. The sage drops the bombshell that makes the king's smile crack. The purification magic did not come from the south, where the blonde hero was heading. It came from somewhere else entirely. The direction no one in the castle wants to talk about. The direction of the forest of Delavaza. The failure they exiled. The merchant they laughed out of the throne room. Somewhere in the back of the king's mind, a very expensive mistake is starting to dawn on him. Back in the forest, Banaza has absolutely no idea. He just cast one of the most powerful spells in the world. He's standing on the opposite end of the forest, wondering why everything suddenly got so quiet. He didn't feel any change, didn't notice any surge of power, just remembers a blinding flash of light a second ago. He mumbles to himself about how to check his remaining magic power, and fumbles with his system window like a guy trying to read a new phone manual. The most feared magic in the kingdom, and he treated it like flipping on a light switch. Then the level up notification hits, and Banaza nearly drops his jaw. Level 367, Power Infinity. Defense Infinity, Agility Infinity, Magic Infinity, HP Infinity, Skill Infinity. Every single stat is literally broken, and he didn't fight a single monster to get there. Is my level going up just from using magic? He asks himself, genuinely confused. He still thinks the display might be wrong, that the weird symbol is a glitch. The man who was laughed out of a throne room for being average is now, quietly, casually, the strongest being in the entire world. And he's still trying to figure out how to open his inventory. Banaza realizes his puny magic power from earlier was actually so massive it was breaking the intermediate level status window. The display simply couldn't render infinity, so it kept flashing that weird symbol instead. He decides to just turn the notifications off because they're inconvenient. Imagine getting level up pop-ups from the strongest being in existence and finding them annoying. He hopes the purification blast didn't do too much damage to the forest because it's suddenly way too quiet out here. Birds, insects, wind, all of it, gone. He has no clue he just vaporized every demonic particle within a massive radius. Now that the forest is safer, Banaza gets to thinking about practical problems. He's still not allowed in the city. The royal family will absolutely kill him on sight if he wanders back in, and he needs supplies. The system helpfully offers him form transformation magic, the ability to change what other people see when they look at him, a perfect disguise. He taps yes without hesitation, then blinks as the system asks him to choose his gender, male or female. Just a casual existential question in the middle of a Tuesday. Banaza considers his options. He makes his choices, and when he opens his eyes, he's noticeably smaller, a lot smaller. The clothes don't fit right anymore, and he realizes this is going to be the form he lives in from now on. He steels himself and decides to really commit to the bit, diving back into the character creation menu. Race, height, face shape, body type, endless options scroll past him. It's overwhelming, but if he's going to start a new life hiding from an entire kingdom, he might as well do it right. This is quite troublesome, he mutters, picking his way through the menu. New world, new body, new identity. We catch a glimpse of Cry Road Castle Town in all its fairy tale glory. Floating crystal spires, hanging gardens, stone bridges arching between towers. Banaza has finally arrived in the city, and he's stunned. He just teleported here in an instant using spatial magic, a technique that back in his home world only the highest-ranking archmages could ever pull off. Here, it's apparently something normal people can do. He murmurs the name of it to himself like he's trying to process the scale of what's happened to him. Every rule he thought he knew about power just got rewritten in real time. Banaza admires his new disguise in a reflection, a striking, handsome figure nobody in the city would ever connect back to the pitiful failed hero candidate. No one will recognize him as Banaza now, even if he walks in and out of the castle gates. The clothes in the magic bag were all rags, but a quick repair spell made them look presentable. Only one problem left. The forest is a 20-day carriage ride away from town, and he'd rather not walk that every time he needs groceries. Right on cue, his system helpfully asks, "Would you like to teleport to the castle using spatial magic? Yes or no?" This guy's lifestyle upgrade is just getting started. He steps into the bustling marketplace and breathes it all in. It's really the city. He's giddy like a tourist. Now he's got to figure out how to actually survive here. He considers joining the Adventurers Guild to take on pest control or escort quests, since he doesn't know anyone in the Merchants Guild, and those require connections. It's too early to go adventuring, he tells himself, but he needs money, and fast. Little does he know, any quest in this world is basically a tutorial mission for him now. The E-rank stuff is going to be embarrassingly easy. At the Adventurers Guild counter, a cheerful elf receptionist walks him through how the whole system works. Ranks from E to S, harder quests for higher ranks, free injury treatment from the guild magicians, and a small registration fee. Banaza is quietly delighted because the structure is basically identical to the RPGs and guild-based stories from his old world. Finally, something he recognizes. He signs up on the spot. The receptionist cheerfully asks if he can pay the 1 silver coin fee, and Banaza awkwardly admits he only has gold coins because the castle didn't give him any small change, casually dropping that he's got gold to burn as a brand new E rank. She imprints his info onto a magic dog tag plate and explains to bring it back whenever he completes a quest. Banaza stares at the stack of silver coins they hand him as change and murmurs that it feels weird accepting money he didn't technically earn. A detail so small, so human, that it says everything about who he is as a person. The man who just solo cleansed a demon stronghold feels guilty about taking change from a receptionist. And then she asks the big question, "What would you like to register your name as?" He freezes up. New identity time. Just as he's thinking it over, a small girl with fluffy animal ears approaches him timidly. She nervously asks if he, a total stranger who looks kind in the guild hall, would be willing to guard her on her journey. The nearby guild members snicker. A small woman in a place like this? No one wants to take a 20-day escort job for a little girl. She offers free meals and a carriage in exchange. Banaza perks up. The forest she wants to reach is the forest of Delavaza, his forest, the one he literally just came from. Banaza smiles and tells her he's been to the forest of Delavaza before, and asks if she'd mind him bringing her there personally. The little fox-eared girl stammers that the reward isn't very high, clearly worried he'll back out. He just grins and says if it's just going there, he can teleport them both with spatial magic. The surrounding adventurers all choke on their drinks at the same time. A nameless rookie who just walked in off the street casually offering high-tier teleport magic for a low-pay escort job. The guild hall goes silent. The legend of Banaza hasn't even started yet, but it's already writing its first chapter. Here's the narration in reading order, 1 paragraph per page, continuing the story. The second Banaza offers to teleport the little fox-eared girl to the forest of Delavaza. A blonde female knight steps out of the crowd with her sword drawn and a very suspicious look on her face. She's already calling him out. You said you could use spatial magic, but you don't look anything like an advanced magician. She demands to know his purpose. An adventurer who just walked in, registered moments ago, and is now offering a 20-day journey basically for free? That's the kind of setup that reeks of a trap. The guild hall goes quiet as everyone waits to see how this random rookie is going to explain himself. Banaza tries to play it off innocently, explaining he's just a normal adventurer who happens to know this particular spell. The knight isn't buying a word of it. She reminds him that only extremely high-ranking magicians can pull off long-distance teleportation, and his story doesn't add up at all. She tells him it's suspicious that he wants to go to a forest currently occupied by demons, especially for almost no reward. Her sword hovers closer. It's time for him to reveal who he really is. Banaza is starting to sweat because the one thing he absolutely cannot do is tell her the truth. Then the knight suddenly lowers her blade and flashes an apologetic smile. I was really doubting you could use spatial magic. Sorry about that. She extends her hand and asks to come along, promising to explain the full circumstances later. Cry Road Castle apparently received a report from the Adventurers Association about this exact situation, and she's been tracking something. Banaza blinks in confusion. Did they already know? She glances at the little fox-eared girl with a knowing look. That little girl isn't quite what she seems either. A warning window pops up in Banaza's field of view. It is dangerous to tell an individual of the demon race about your purification magic. He looks at the fox-eared client in total shock. The system labels her right there. Demon, species Fang Wolf, currently active magic, human transformation. Banaza reels. His cute little escort job client is literally a demon in disguise. She notices him staring and awkwardly apologizes to the knight, named Fulio, for dragging her into this whole mess. Banaza is just standing there, trying to process that his entire day has become a web of secret identities. Banaza pulls the group into a quiet alley to discreetly teleport everyone, and the knight gives him a sharp warning. Any suspicious movements and she will react. He nods casually and tells them to gather close. A few of her companions pile in, another armored fighter, a small witch in a pointed hat, and they all shuffle together, weapons at the ready. Banaza is laughing nervously on the inside. He could flatten a mountain range, and these people are ready to stab him if he makes a wrong face. You don't have to be that cautious, he tells them gently. They ignore him completely. In a flash of light, the entire group blinks across the map and lands at the edge of the forest of Delavaza. The knight and her witch companion are stunned speechless. A teleport that distance is the kind of magic only an extremely high-ranking archmage could possibly perform. They stare at Banaza like he just casually performed a miracle. He scratches his head and mumbles that he's just a normal adventurer who can use this kind of magic. The witch's eye twitches. The knight, Fulio, quietly apologizes for ever having doubted him. He's blushing and waving it off. Everyone in the group now quietly suspects he is way more than he's letting on. Right as the awkward introductions wrap up, the forest explodes with killing intent. A massive, shadowy beast lunges out from the trees, jaws wide. The group barely has time to react. The knight shouts a warning. "Watch out!" Banaza moves on pure instinct, throwing himself in front of the group as the thing comes crashing down. It's impossible to escape while protecting 4 people at once, and taking his eyes off the beast even for a second means instant death. He realizes that last time he used purification magic, the spell executed just by thinking about pressing the button. No touching required. Time to test that theory. The enormous monster turns out to be one of the Demon King's 4 divas, not a scout like the Adventurers Association had reported. This is an S-tier threat, and Banaza's little escort group is wildly outmatched. The witch, the knights, and Fulio all go rigid with fear as the realization sets in. Banaza's simple delivery job just escalated into a boss fight with one of the most dangerous beings on the continent. Fulio, panicking, asks what's going on, and then the fox-eared girl's disguise suddenly shudders. Something is reacting to the 4 divas, something inside her. The group stares in horror as the girl's human transformation flickers and fails, revealing the truth underneath. A massive, towering wolf demon with glowing eyes and bared fangs. She is Fenris, younger sister of Fengaril, one of the 4 divas herself. The very person Banaza agreed to protect is one of the strongest demons in existence, in hiding. The witch and knight immediately raise their weapons. Fenris glares at them with cold predator eyes and warns them that they will regret their decision. Banaza is standing in the middle of a standoff between 2 S-tier demon forces, and his normal adventurer cover is about 3 seconds from collapse. Back to the moment of the ambush. The huge wolf diva corners Banaza and demands to know where the girl is. Banaza admits she's not with him, and the diva laughs, saying Banaza will simply have to become food himself. Banaza realizes he has no leniency left in choosing an attack spell. It's kill or be killed, and he doesn't really want to die yet. He pulls up his magic window, scrolling through his list of attack options. The diva lunges. Banaza taps the screen with a small, apologetic smile, like someone ordering lunch. This is about to be extremely one-sided in a way nobody present is prepared for. A blinding flash of magic erupts, and the diva's entire pack of underlings, every demonic minion it brought along, simply vanishes. An area attack on a scale the demon had never even imagined. The diva stares in horror, asking where they all went. Banaza sighs in relief that it worked. The diva processes the scene, then slowly leans in and asks a terrifying question. Is Banaza planning to become food for it all by himself, since he's the only one left? Fenris, watching from the sidelines, is clearly reconsidering her assumptions about the lowly and weak human race in real time. Banaza realizes he now needs a different kind of magic, something to capture the demon, not kill it. Controlling this type of spell is much harder, and he can feel it resisting against his will. The system helpfully suggests a spell, slavery magic, dominate target, restrict thinking and behavior. Banaza's blood runs cold. He's seen this system in action in this world already, and he wants no part of it. Slavery? He whispers. The word alone makes his stomach turn. He refuses on principle. The system keeps pushing. Recommendation: slavery magic, will you use it? Banaza taps refuse. It pings him again after his other spells get cancelled mid-cast. Recommendation: slavery magic. He refuses again, harder this time. He will not imitate the cruel customs of this world just because the menu suggests it. Even cornered by an S-tier demon, even with his usual options failing, even with the system practically begging him, he draws a hard moral line in the sand. I refuse. Banaza may have infinite stats, but his conscience isn't for sale. Instead, Banaza uses a mitigation spell that completely cancels the diva's own magic resistance. The massive wolf demon crashes to the ground, helpless, unable to move. It stares up at him with defiant eyes and chokes out its last words. "I surrender. Kill me. A warrior who can no longer fight has no place in this world," it says. "Kill me now." Banaza just shakes his head with a tired smile. He doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't even like fighting to begin with. The diva is absolutely not prepared for this response. The massive wolf warrior stares at him in disbelief. "I'm a demon, you know. I'm a warrior who fights your kind, and you're going to just let me go?" Banaza shrugs and delivers the line that quietly makes him the most dangerous person in the whole world. It doesn't matter if you're a human or a demon. He admits he's not actually a human of this world, and the honest truth is, he just doesn't want to kill anyone who's already surrendered. The diva stares at him for a long moment, then lets out a soft, startled chuckle. "You're quite soft, aren't you? Something has just shifted between them." Banaza makes her promise. If he lets her go, she has to swear never to attack humans again without reason. She can stick around him if she wants, but no more random killings. The huge demon wolf is quiet for a long moment, clearly wrestling with her warrior pride. Then she bows her massive head and solemnly promises, "From now on, I, Fenris, promise not to fight humans for no reason." She admits it was a strange feeling for her, because she had always assumed that being killed and having her fur peeled off was simply the natural fate of a creature like her. Banaza just gave her a reason to live that she'd never considered. Back in human form now, Fenris stands naked in the field, and Banaza frantically looks anywhere but at her, stammering that she should please put some clothes on. He hands her a spare outfit from his magic bag, wondering what on earth he's supposed to do with her now. He decided on a whim to spare her, and he can't go back on his word, but he also doesn't want to just treat her like a luggage carrier. As he's overthinking the whole situation, Fenris suddenly plops down into a formal kneel before him. Something dramatic is about to be declared. Banaza has no idea what's coming. Fenris very seriously announces that according to Fang Wolf law, a female must have a husband in order to be experienced, and then, with absolute conviction, declares Banaza to be her husband as repayment for sparing her life. Wait a minute? Banaza nearly falls over, frantically waving his hands. She doesn't have to go that far. He tries to politely refuse the whole husband thing. Fenris's face starts to crumble, tears welling up, and she asks in a trembling voice, "You can't accept my feelings?" Then she drops the nuclear option. "If it can't happen, then my only option is to kill myself." Banaza nearly has a heart attack. Banaza starts sweating bullets, trying to calm her down. He insists he's never even thought about having slaves or luggage carriers, and she really doesn't need to offer herself like this. But Fenris is deadly serious. She'll happily serve him as anything, luggage carrier, slave, whatever, as long as she can stay by his side. Her eyes are wide with desperate devotion. Banaza realizes this isn't a joke. This isn't a manipulation. This is genuinely how her culture works. He has to figure out a way to accept her loyalty without accepting the uncomfortable framing. His brain is melting. The next morning, Fenris respectfully calls him Husband Dono over the campfire, and Banaza gently tries to negotiate the terminology. He's glad she's okay now. He used recovery magic on her while she was sleeping, but the husband thing still makes him deeply uncomfortable. He asks if she could maybe just call him by his name. She tilts her head innocently and asks, "Okay with what?" He sighs in defeat. Fenris, a legendary demon warrior, the younger sister of one of the 4 devas, just cheerfully declared herself his loyal companion for life. The failed hero candidate's harem of powerful women has quietly begun, whether he wanted it or not. Back at the campsite from before, Banaza sits by a small fire while the demon woman rests inside a tent he pitched for her. He ponders whether human healing magic even works on a demon, but he tried it anyway, just in case. Now all he can do is wait for her to wake up. It's a quiet, oddly tender scene. The man who just annihilated an entire demon force, using the most powerful magic in existence, is now nervously hoping his patient is okay. The story cools down for just a moment before the next storm hits. While she sleeps, Banaza decides to quietly experiment with his new magic menu. He'll try any of the usable spells to see what each one does. Gravity magic, which activated instantly last time and proved incredibly useful in the fight, gets his attention first. Maybe there are other spells just as powerful waiting in his list. He taps through the menu with childlike curiosity, completely unaware of the scale of what he's about to unleash. The cautious experimentation of a man with infinite power and no instruction manual. What could possibly go wrong? A massive bolt of lightning comes crashing down right next to the sleeping demon woman's tent with a deafening boom. Banaza freezes in horror. So this is what lightning magic meant? That night, sitting by the smoldering crater he just carved into the earth beside his unconscious guest, he makes a quiet vow to himself. It's dangerous to recklessly experiment with attack magic, and next time, he really ought to read the description in advance. A small, humble lesson from a man who just casually fired off a spell that could level a castle. The comedy beat lands perfectly. Scene shift. The grand throne room of Cryroad Castle. The king sits on his gilded throne looking uncharacteristically worried, and the blonde hero strides in with the mood of a man about to deliver very bad news. "Hero Dono, how did it go?" the king asks cautiously. The smug chosen one glow from the banquet is completely gone now. Something happened out there on the battlefield, and the hero's face says it all. The kingdom is about to learn that appointing their savior may have been a catastrophic miscalculation. A map appears laying out the whole disaster. A demon from the Demon King's army was spotted in the forest of Delavaza, and the kingdom sent roughly 10,000 armed soldiers to deal with it. 10,000. The blonde hero led the charge himself, and the result? The entire army was completely annihilated. Not by a battalion, not by a squad, but by a single monster. Thousands of men, gone in one encounter. The king's face goes pale as the scale of the loss sinks in. The hero hangs his head in performative grief, telling the king that the soldiers were the real problem. The moment the monsters appeared, they panicked and broke formation immediately. By the time he noticed, the entire army was already destroyed. He claims he was desperately trying to save as many lives as possible. He even strolls out of the throne room muttering bitterly that he didn't even get a thank you for his efforts. Classic deflection. The king is quietly starting to realize that something about this hero isn't adding up. A knight commander then reports what really happened on the battlefield, and it paints a very different picture. When the monsters attacked, the blonde hero was posted at the very deepest, safest part of the formation, leading the soldiers from the back. He ran away the moment things got dangerous, then turned around and blamed the army for the collapse. It seems this hero is also a disappointment, the knight concludes grimly. He doesn't have the bearing or courage of the legendary heroes at all. The kingdom's golden chosen one is a fraud in shiny armor. Elsewhere, the hero himself is pacing furiously in a hallway, staring at his own status screen and raging. Level 91, every stat capped at 999, but no skills learned. He's been training his ass off for a whole month, and his stats refuse to climb any higher. He mutters that if a monster stronger than him ever shows up, he literally won't be able to beat it, and humans will always be weaker than the real threats out there. He curses the whole because he's the hero logic these people keep parroting. He already regrets accepting the role. He's trapped in a destiny he can't actually handle. A woman in an elaborate dress, presumably a maid or attendant, sweetly tells him that waiting patiently is also an important part of a servant's job. The hero mutters job, with quiet disdain. Then the king approaches and cheerfully invites him to come along. Good timing. Let's enjoy ourselves with the kingdom's treasury. The so-called hero brightens up immediately at the idea of spending royal money for fun. Whatever guilt he had about the 10,000 dead soldiers evaporates in seconds. This is the man Cryroad bet everything on. Meanwhile, somewhere in a forest, their real weapon is politely asking a demon girl to please put on some pants. Scene shift. Banaza and his new companion are back in Cryroad Castletown, standing at the Adventurers Guild counter to register her name. The little fox-eared demon girl puffs up with pride and starts to announce herself loudly. "Listen clearly, woman of the human race. My name is Fee." Banaza clamps his hand over her mouth just in time. "Registered name is Risu," he says smoothly. The receptionist accepts it without missing a beat. Crisis averted by approximately half a second. Banaza gently explains to her that people in Cryroad might recognize the name Fenris, so she should avoid using it in human lands. "Don't worry about it. We are going to die together anyways," he adds with a wry smile, which is either the sweetest thing she's ever heard or the most terrifying, depending on how you read it. He wants her to slowly adapt to the human city's lifestyle, step by step, so her demon identity stays hidden. Fenris, now Risu, nods seriously. The ultimate undercover mission begins. Risu is quietly mesmerized by the idea that Banaza's name and hers are being matched together on the paperwork, blushing furiously and fidgeting like a schoolgirl. Banaza asks innocently if that makes her happy. She flails, denying it loudly, then shyly admits it does. Something like that. She then explains that in her race, before a couple is officially married, they have to go hunt prey together and swallow a part of the bones from the kill. That's the wedding ceremony. Banaza's face slowly drains of color. We still have to do it? Do we? His life just got a lot more complicated. Meanwhile, a guild alarm suddenly blares through the hall. Emergency quest! A horde of wild, frenzied bears has been spotted north of the city, heading straight for them. The guildmaster pleads for every available adventurer to help, no rank restrictions, and the bounty per kill is 10 times the normal rate. The veterans in the room go pale. Rumors say this same bear horde once destroyed an entire hero's army. Frenzied bears near here? Nobody has ever heard of such a thing. The whole guild hall erupts in panic. Risu eagerly tugs on Banaza's sleeve and says they should take the job. If he's going, even a whole horde of frenzied bears will be annihilated in no time. Banaza gently pushes back. It looked like a great chance to earn money, but maybe they shouldn't go for it. Risu is baffled. What are you saying? She's absolutely certain nothing could threaten her Dana-sama. Banaza sighs. The problem isn't whether he can beat them. It's whether a brand new E-rank adventurer beating an army-killing horde will raise any suspicious eyebrows. Risu doesn't care about subtlety. Risu wants to hunt. Risu sets her jaw and decides she'll solve the problem herself. If I win against them, then Dana-sama, the one who won against me, will know he can win too. In other words, she's going to publicly beat an army-killing bear horde to prove that Banaza, who beat her, is obviously strong enough. It's a brilliant little logic puzzle wrapped in adorable devotion. Banaza stares at her, completely defeated by the sheer earnestness. How do you even argue with that? You don't. You just let the demon princess go bear hunting. They head to the blacksmith to gear up, and Risu flatly refuses a weapon. Dana-sama, I don't need one. I can beat them with my fists. Banaza, who has first-hand experience being on the receiving end of her fists, knows she's not exaggerating. Still, he insists she take something just in case, to avoid looking suspicious. You can't walk into a monster horde barehanded as an E-ranker without drawing stares. She grumbles but picks something up. Meanwhile, the blacksmith shoots a look at a nearby muscular E-rank team and mutters about ignorant fools who overestimate their strength. Foreshadowing loud and clear. A burly adventurer party strolls over to Banaza and warns him condescendingly not to get scared when the frenzied bears show up. Going in with just 2 people is basically offering yourselves as bear food, they sneer, especially with that pathetic E-rank tag. Risu's eye twitches. What did you say? She growls, the air behind her turning visibly menacing as her demon aura leaks out. Banaza quickly pats her head, whispering, It's fine, Risu, it's fine. One of these days, someone is going to say the wrong thing and get atomized by a little girl. Before heading out, Banaza shows Risu something special. He produces a ring, the proof of marriage in her culture, and slides it onto her finger, telling her he thought she'd want a proper wedding ceremony after all. Risu absolutely melts, blushing and clutching her hand to her chest like it's the most precious thing in the world. Not at all. In fact, she stammers in pure delight. The ring is technically just a skill ring in function, but the meaning is real. This tiny gesture just bound her to him tighter than any demon pact ever could. And finally, Banaza tests out his new combat setup in the Northern Forest's Frenzied Bear appearance area. He jokes that right now he feels like he could take on the Demon King himself. Risu cheerfully responds that the ring doesn't actually have any hidden skills. Ha ha ha, there isn't one. But she's pumped to hunt the bears and claim that juicy reward money, already dreaming about eating the bones afterward like a traditional wedding feast. Banaza just smiles helplessly beside her. From failed hero candidate to secretly married to a demon diva with infinite stats and a wedding ring made of skill magic. Part 1 closes on the quietly strongest man in the world finally, genuinely, starting to enjoy his new life.